Okay, good evening, everyone. And welcome to the City Council meeting of April 6, 2016. And I would like to call to order this meeting. And Chief, would you please lead us in flag salute?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Director Melanie.
Faria.
Here.
Lewis. Silvera.
Present.
Stonegrove. Vololta.
Here, we do have a quorum. Item 4, consideration of approval of agenda. Do I have a motion? Mrs. Stonegrove.
I move to approve the agenda as submitted.
Mrs. Lewis.
Second.
Motion by Stonegrove, second by Lewis to approve the agenda stated. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? None. Carried. Item 5, presentations. First one we have, proclamation recognizing National Volunteer Week. And could I please have all the vital members and all the animal volunteers please come forward and kind of form kind of a half circle over here?
I feel heavy today. Tight.
We have so many volunteers that will help.
I did not want to leave anyone out. I can't tell you, just from the mayor, and I know the city council would echo the same thing, that we are so grateful to have you here this evening and to have you as volunteers for the city of Los Banos. I'll start with the volunteers for animals. Sometimes it's not a pleasant job, but you do it. Sometimes you have to get down on your hands and knees and clean to protect the animals that you love so dearly. And you're always fighting for animal rights. And I can't thank you enough, being a pet owner, one who adopted one from the shelter, and I know your savior rate of pets is in the high 80s, almost 90%, 87 to 90%, which is very, very admirable, and it's all to your hard work. And not only that, the funds that you raise on a monthly basis to keep the animal shelter going. So thank you so much for what you do. I hope you increase your numbers, and I also hope the best for you for what you've done and just excellent health. Thank you so much. The vital volunteers. Personally involved with Vital, although I haven't volunteered just a fraction of the time. These men and women up here have volunteered over the years, and some of them for many, many years. With both groups, we cannot get along without volunteers, and I would encourage you, if you're so inclined, and students also, if you'd like to volunteer for the city of Los Banos, I would urge you to do so. It's not an easy process to volunteer. You think you sign up and you become a volunteer. Well, it's not. Both groups go through extensive background checks. And why would someone subject themselves to that? The police department background check, because you have access to sensitive records, is, I'm going to say, 25 pages long. But that didn't stop any one of these individuals up here from volunteering and filling out those papers and opening up their life to everyone to be checked and then rechecked and then interviewed and then finally becoming a volunteer. We cannot get along without you, and thank you so much for what you've done and what you're going to do. And with that, I'd like to read this proclamation recognizing National Volunteer Week. Whereas one of the greatest national resources is its volunteers and the human resources they devote towards a healthy, productive, and humane society. And throughout the year, local citizens sign up to assist the Los Banos Police Program Vital Volunteers Interacting to Advance Law Enforcement and the Los Banos Volunteers for Animals. Since the inception of the Vital program in 2003, members have donated over 37,600 hours of service to the city of Los Banos. Vital volunteers provide services such as information and fingerprinting booths during events, crowd and traffic control, park and school safety patrol, graffiti abatement, evidence management, statistical reporting, taxi licensing, DUI checkpoint assistance, clerical assistance, and emergency call-outs. Vital volunteers have been called out at all hours to assist with major problems such as outages, fires, gas leaks, locating missing children, and much more. The Los Banos Volunteers for Animals opened the local animal shelter every Sunday from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. for adoptions and work in conjunction with animal rescues to transfer dogs and cats whom have not yet found a home. And whereas in 2016, the Los Banos Volunteers for Animals donated over 6,000 hours of service to the city of Los Banos. Each year, these volunteers give freely of their time and energy, only asking for a smile and a handshake and a thank you for their many hours of service. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the mayor and the city council members of the city of Los Banos recognize and take great pleasure in honoring the vital volunteers and Los Banos Volunteers for Animals during National Volunteer Week, April 10th through April 16th, and convey sincere gratitude and appreciation for their dedication, selflessness, and compassionate efforts. And those three words couldn't have been spoken more seriously for what both groups do. Thank you so much. I'd like to present this proclamation to Officer Flores, who is in charge of the Vital Volunteers. And with that, does anyone want to say anything? You want a spokesperson? Well, also at Petco, I'll let you know that you can see Kathy Wilbur in a cage at Petco with the dogs. And who else goes to Petco? Yeah, Milam, Dave Milam, yes. And you can see them in a cage or out of a cage, and they have all these cute little animals. So if you'd like to come and visit animals, pet them, come to Petco on Saturday from what time? 11 to 2. So with that, thank you so much, volunteers, and please continue with the service. I know the City Council and all of Los Banos appreciates what you do and continue to do it well. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Oh, yeah, let me take care of it now. Yeah. Okay. Well, Yolanda, you can't go anywhere. Okay? We have the added pleasure this evening of presenting the award of Volunteer of the Year for the Vital Group. And we have with us this evening Yolanda Espino. Yolanda is a Police Department Vital Volunteer of the Year for 2015. Yolanda is a very active volunteer in our community, and she splits her volunteer time with the police department and the local hospital. You give more time to us, don't you? Okay. She has been a Vital volunteer for over 8 years. She has been a volunteer at our local hospital for over 7 years. Prior to her time as a volunteer, Yolanda spent 3 years as a volunteer with the Tracy Police Department. On behalf of myself and the fellow council members, it is my honor and privilege to say thank you and congratulations to Yolanda. Thank you so much for what you do. And Officer Flores, would you like to present her with this pin? Oh, Reyes, I'm sorry. I goofed up.
Just tell everybody else. details. That was raining last week.
Yeah. I'm getting better. And before I do that, we have this Vital Volunteer of the Year is presented to Yolanda Espino, Outstanding Volunteer Service 2015-2016. Congratulations. And we also have this pin. Thank you so much. Thank you. Do you want to say a few words?
No.
Oh, okay. I tried. Thank you so much. Okay. Do we have Valerie Reyna and who's the other one here? We have Nora Ramirez. Wait a minute, I got it right. Did I get it right?
Yes.
Oh, okay, good. Oh, Andre, thank you for coming. Okay. Proclamation recognizing National Public Safety Week telecommunications work. Where emergencies can occur at any time that require police, fire, and emergency medical services, when the emergency occurs, that prompt response to police officers, firefighters, paramedics is critical to the protection of life and the preservation of property. The safety of our police officers and firefighters is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of the information obtained from citizens who telephone the Los Banos Police Department Fire Communications Center. The police safety telecommunications are the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services. Police safety telecommunicators are the single vital link for our police officers and firefighters by monitoring their activities by radio and providing them information and ensuring their safety. And public safety telecommunications of the Los Banos Police Department have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals, suppression of fires, and treatment of patients. Each dispatcher has exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during the performance of their job. And before I read the final paragraph, let me say that these three young ladies, along with all the police dispatchers in Los Banos, anyone who receives information is under a tremendous amount of stress, because if they get it wrong, other lives depend upon them, and they get it right. So I would tell you that when you call, speak, and God forbid you have to call, but if you do, speak slowly, speak clearly, stay calm, because they are going to be calm on the other end. And they are going to try and get the information, as they are trained to get the information as quickly as possible in order to surmise what happens, what is needed, and where to send that equipment or personnel. You know, I've been over at the police department in several occasions, and if you have to leave for a few minutes, no one wants to come and take your place. because it's if they're not trained day in and day out the way you are, I think, you know, people could just get frazzled in 2 seconds. But you don't. And everything that you do, you are the first contact for our officers and our firefighters. You are the ones that determine what needs to be done. And we can't thank you enough for what you do. So now therefore be it proclaimed that the mayor and the city council members of the city of Los Banos do hereby declare the week of April 10th through the 16th to be National Public Safety Telecommunications Week in Los Banos, and commend and honor the men and women whose diligence and professionalism keep our city and citizens safe. Thank you again. Thank you. Oh, Chief, would you like to say something about the 3 groups that we just honored?
I would just echo what the mayor said. We really, our volunteers, we couldn't provide the services that we do provide without you, all of you. I got a chance to work closely with both groups, and from the bottom of my heart, thank you. And to our dispatchers, the calm voice on the other end of the radio, you guys know we love you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Okay, let's go on to item 4, public forum. Members of the public may address the city council members on any item of interest that is within the jurisdiction of the city council, which includes agenda and non-agenda items. No action will be taken on non-agenda items, and speakers are limited to a 5-minute presentation. Detailed guidelines are posted on the council chamber informational table. And at this time, I would please ask that if you have a cell phone, please place them on vibrate or turn them off. Is there anyone who would like to speak at the public forum? Yes.
Sorry about that, Mary. I have a meeting to go to.
Sorry.
My name is Shirley Rose. Monday night, I received a very important telephone call, which I'll relate to everybody. It seems like we have a Los Banos policeman that is on paid administrative leave. The reason being, it seems like he had a little more relations with children under his age. Now, what are we going to do? Why wasn't this brought out in the public, and why wasn't he arrested or fired? Are we slapping him on the hands and telling him to go back to another school? Now, nobody can give me an answer, but I know this is what's happened. Now, everybody's saying, who told you this? Well, I'll tell you what, you better do something with this young man. I know the school and I know his name. Now, if anybody is interested, please contact me and I'll give you further information. But in the meantime, watch your children. They're very important. Thank you.
Thank you.
So,
Okay, is there anyone else who'd like to speak at the public forum?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Bertha Faria, Los Banos Chamber of Commerce. We are looking forward to our annual Spring Street Fair this Saturday. We have over 100 booths that will line downtown 6th Street from K to I, and are hoping for a shine on this rain or shine event. Nothing like a predicted spring shower on this day to throw a little monkey wrench into our plans. We look forward to the community coming out to join us from 8:30 to 3 p.m. And don't forget that you can enjoy an omelet and pancake breakfast with our local Rotary Club beginning at 7:30 a.m. at the Westside Cafeteria. Tickets are just $8 and can be purchased from any Rotarian or at the door. Just a reminder that our local VFW are holding another fundraiser for the annual Veterans Day Parade today and tomorrow. If you visit our local Carl's Jr. and mention you are eating to benefit our veterans, 25% of sales will be donated to the cause. We are happy to welcome Premium Urgent Care to membership with our chamber. This new urgent care facility will be located at 1415 Badger Flat Road. They are open 7 days a week, offering full urgent care service in Los Banos, and we look forward to celebrating a ribbon cutting with them soon. The Los Banos Downtown Association's Open Mic Night has been such a well-received activity that they have scheduled 3 more evenings for April. Friday, April 8th will be held at J&N Restaurant. Friday, April 15th at Donna Mendez's Positive Changes, and Friday, April 22nd will be hosted by the Los Banos Arts Council. There is a $3 cover charge, and you can contact Rhonda at 704-4384 if you are interested in performing at one of these venues. There is also time still to purchase your tickets for the Green Valley Charter School Spring Fling being held at the Delta Farms Party Barn this Saturday, on Saturday, April 16th from 5 to 11. And this fun evening will include dinner, a silent and live auction, and dancing, and tickets can be purchased by calling 826-8610. We look forward to a hectic, busy, and fun street fair this weekend, and especially look forward to seeing our community out to enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak at the public forum?
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, city staff, community residents. I'm Sandy Lemus. I'm a Los Banos resident and professional volunteer. I have some great opportunities available for everybody in the community. The Chamber has partnered with Merced College, and we're offering outstanding customer service academy classes. They started today, communication in the workplace. Each class is 2 sessions. There's 10 of them. I highly recommend all employers and employees to take advantage of this. Currently, there are 5 generations in the workplace, and we need all the help we can get so we can work properly with everybody and kind of know what's going on. I'll be at the street fair this weekend with the community service booth. We're going to have information for our upcoming Love Los Banos event. Love Los Banos started 2009 in Modesto, and we're starting one here. Again, there was a little one a few years ago. Let me just read real quick what Love Los Banos is. It's demonstrating kindness, meeting needs, impacting lives. And the vision for, I should have brought my glasses, I apologize. The vision for Love Our Cities is to help our communities worldwide to love their community like Jesus would. We really want to set the standard and make our communities the best that we can. We are going to have a planning meeting April 13th at Salvation Army from 9 to 11. We already have some events scheduled. The Church of Latter-day Saints is going to be doing Bark in the Park. I don't know what it's actually called. Do you know, Gary, what they're doing? Some kind of a park cleanup, but they're putting down bark. Habitat for Humanity, we're going to do lots of Brush with Kindness. We're going to coordinate with the cleanup Los Banos. If anybody needs to get some items over to the cleanup event, a lot of people do not have transportation or trucks. We're going to have people, you can call 826-5648 so we can pick that up. We really want to make our community look clean and beautiful. We're actually going to do the kickoff April 22nd on Earth Day, and I believe on that day everybody's required to wear their tie-dye shirts and plant flowers and wear flowers in your hair. That is required for that day. I'm pretty sure it's a law. We are going to start planting things downtown in the little planters. We're going to start off at the Habitat for Humanity Restore, which moved to its new location at 1209 6th Street. We're going to work on M Street and beautify some lawns. We're going to try to do a lot of outside activities just to kind of brush up and spruce up our community so it looks really good for the May Day Fair. We want to show people how proud we are to live in Los Banos. The actual Love Los Banos will be April 23rd from 9 to 3. If anybody would like to participate, again, call 826-5648. Leave a message. That's my home phone. But leave a message. And I'd like to compliment the City Council on doing a mural. The Chamber of Commerce is working hard on also trying to get some other murals in town because that's a great way to show off the history of our community and beautify our community. And I do want to make a public announcement on what an outstanding job Bertha is doing as Chamber of Commerce Executive Director. We really appreciate her support. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the nice update. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak at the public forum? Not seeing or hearing anyone, I will now close the public forum, and we will go on to item 7, consideration of approval of consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda are considered to be routine and will be voted on in one motion unless removed from the consent agenda by a city council member. And tonight we have
Items on the consent agenda are as follows. Warrant numbers 158402 through 158700 in the amount of $1,211,528.68. Minutes for the March 16th, 2016 City Council meeting. Minutes for the March 22nd, 2016 special City Council meeting. Minutes for the March 25th, 2016 adjourned City Council meeting. City Council Resolution Number 5734, consenting to the inclusion of properties within the territory of the city in the California Statewide Communities Development Authority Open PACE programs, authorizing CSCDA to accept applications from property owners, conduct contractual assessment proceedings, and levy contractual assessments within the territory of the city and authorizing related actions. City Council Resolution Number 5735, authorizing the city manager to execute a professional services agreement with EMC Planning Group, Inc. for the preparation of a general plan amendment, supplemental environmental impact report, and adopting a revised budget for the fiscal year 2015-2016 as it pertains to increasing expenditures in Community and Economic Development Department professional services in the amount of $18,465. City Council Resolution Number 5736, amending the fiscal year 2015-2016 budget by increasing appropriation in funds of the landscaping lighting districts number 11 and number 17 for streetlight repairs in the amount of $28,000 and $22,000 respectively. City Council Resolution Number 5737, authorizing award of construction contract for Joe Lynn Sewer Lift Station rehabilitation to RTC Construction Management, Inc. in the amount of $215,602.90. City Council Resolution Number 5738, authorizing the mayor to execute a license agreement between the City of Los Banos and Taylor Wolfson for the purpose of affixing a historical mural to 1048 6th Street. And the items are to be approved as submitted.
Okay, is there any city council member who would like to remove an item for discussion? If not, do I have a motion? Ms. Freya?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
Mrs. Lewis?
Second.
Motion by Faria, second by Lewis to approve the consent agenda as stated. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? None. Carried. Let's go on to item 8, public hearing. If you challenge a proposed action described herein in court, you may be limited to raising only those issues you or someone else raised at the public hearing described herein or in written correspondence delivered to the city at or prior to the public hearing. Item 8A, public hearing. To receive public comment and consideration of adopting an ordinance to regulate and create the process for temporary uses on private property in the city of Los Banos. Item 8A1, ordinance number 1144, repealing Article 38, Chapter 3 to Title 9 of the Los Banos Municipal Code and enacting the new Article 38, Chapter 3 to Title 9 of the Los Banos Municipal Code entitled Temporary Uses. And this is a second reading and adoption. And item 8A2, City Council Resolution Number 5739, establishing permit fees for the issuance of temporary use permits. All right, and we're going to go to Senior Planner Elms.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council members. So tonight, I'm going to give you a brief background of what we discussed at the last City Council meeting where this ordinance was introduced. But just a little bit of background, the purpose of this temporary use ordinance is to provide standards for temporary activities on private property that are ancillary to primary uses that are not permitted under the zoning code and intended to operate on a short-term basis for a limited period. Let's go to the next slide. The ordinance really goes down and breaks the uses between exempt, which do not require permits, and those that do need permits. So I'm just going to go through those that are exempt are charitable or nonprofit fundraising events of a civic organization, church, lodge, public or private school, or other such charitable nonprofit group.
but these shall only occur in non-residential districts unless the property is located or owned by an organization or group. An example of that would be VFW, that is located within a residential zoning district, but a lodge is located on the premises. Other events would also be exempt, such as arts and crafts exhibits, auctions, festivals, food events, conferences, receptions, celebrations, dinner dances, indoor concerts, live entertainment, or similar events on property designed to accommodate such events. An example of this would be the DES Hall, and should they have a festival or some sort of special event on their property, they would be exempt as their premises is designed for such events. Next slide. So further, what are also exempt are construction yards and offices, emergency shelters and activities during a declared emergency, and garage sales. And I wanted to show you our next slide. Basically, so as I discussed at our last city council meeting, there's going to be some criteria for garage sales and in order for them to be exempt and permitted. The first is that they need to register with the Community and Economic Development Department. And our department worked closely with our IT department, specifically our director Spalding, in creating this registration form, and we wanted to show that to you tonight, how that's going to work. So it's a bit hard to read the text here, but basically it goes into just an introduction at the beginning of the web page. This particular link is going to be on our home web page under city links, and so it'll be directly there. It'll say something like garage sales, so that it's very obvious to the public where they need to go if they're interested in garage sales. There's an introduction that talks about if you're interested in garage sales and what you need to do to have a garage sale and the information that we're going to need. It also says that anything that has an asterisk has to be filled out in order for the form to be submitted and to be completed. If those asterisk boxes are not filled out, the form does not go through and it kicks it back to the register. So the items that are on this are the registrar's name, their address, you could go to the next slide, and then really just their information about their event, what day it's going to be held, and it's really hard to see this screen, but I pre-filled it in for you. And it's requires their email address and a telephone number should we need to call them, call the register, obviously their address where the garage sale is being held, and the dates. Then the next slide. Based on our conversation that we also had at the last city council meeting, we wanted to ensure that the registrars understood the ordinance and what was required of garage sales according to the temporary use ordinance. So there's a couple boxes that need to be checked, signifying that the registrar has understood what is required. One is that the event, the garage sale, can only be held for 2 consecutive days, and the hours of operation can only be from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. So you, by checking that box, understand that that's a requirement of the ordinance. The next check is that where signage can be placed and the size of the signage. And so by signing that box, again, you would signify that you understand that. And then the third box is just further on rules about the garage sale event. I apologize that this is really small to read, but hopefully you'd get a chance to be able to, once this becomes live on our city website, be able to check out this website registration. So next slide. So then the applicant is required to, the registrar is required to fill in the numbers that are on the screen or whatever type of message to ensure that this isn't a robot or spam. And then automatically a green box, once you push send, pops up on the screen. And it says that you are registered for a garage or a yard sale, and that if you have any questions, to contact the Community and Economic Development Department, but to save or print that screen to be able to show that to code enforcement if needed, or a police officer. This next screen is what the registrar receives. This is an email, and once I filled this out, and I was just doing a mock demonstration, but I filled this out within 3 minutes. I received an email that said that I was registered for my event. It gave me my information that I put in, so what I had submitted to the Community and Economic Development Department, and then, if you can click one more time, it goes through a reminder again of the requirements of the ordinance. That way it's very clear that the registrar knows the requirements of this ordinance. Next screen. And then this is a screen that we as staff receive. So I just wanted to show you, it automatically generates an email to the Code Enforcement Department. So our Code Enforcement Officer, Brittany Rogers and Sergeant Seha, and then it automatically also generates a report to the Community and Economic Development Department, myself and Sandra. So we get this email and it lets us know that this particular person registered at this event, this address, and then that they acknowledged by signing, clicking on those boxes, they acknowledge the requirements of the ordinance. Now, you cannot move on further in our registration process. You would not get an email saying that you've been registered, and you wouldn't get that green box popping up that says that you've been registered if you do not click through the boxes that say that you understand the requirements of the ordinance. So those 3 boxes have to be checked, acknowledging that the registrar understands. Next slide. So going on to further exempt permits, these are temporary portable moving containers, and again, they will have the same registration process. IT has already created that process. It's the same thing as yard sales, so I didn't want to go through that demonstration, but we've already got that working in the background in our website. And then next one. And then also temporary commercial storage containers will also be exempt. Also, temporary construction, storage, or waste containers. These need to be in conjunction with the building permit. They can only be in residential zones. They are permitted in the driveway. Within all zones, they're not to be placed in the public right-of-way, and they need to be 2 feet from property line. And if they're specifically in the residential zone, construction waste containers are permitted on the curbside directly in front of the site. And then also, they are required to register with the Community and Economic Development Department. Also exempt are temporary real estate sales offices and similar temporary uses. Then the ordinance goes on to distinguish between temporary uses that do require a permit. These are major events, and this would be on property that's not designed to accommodate such an event, and they cannot exceed 3 consecutive days 4 times a year. An example of this would be Walmart, for instance, that is not designed to have, say, a circus. They would need to go through this temporary use permit in order to have that type of event on their premises, on their parcel. Next are parking lot sales that occupy more than 20% of an improved parking lot. Seasonal sales lots, and these are mostly for Christmas trees and pumpkin patches. These are types of events that we see a lot in town. They're not to exceed 45 days. Outdoor sales of flowers, produce, and holiday merchandise. We mostly see these types of events in conjunction with Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, and sometimes Christmas. And then temporary parking lots. These types of events we're actually going to be seeing here pretty soon with the fair. We have a couple of vacant lots that are adjacent to the fairgrounds that those private property owners use them for parking. So there is a process and a regulation just to make sure that they're following all the rules, they have the business license to operate, and it's in a safe and good manner. Next screen is temporary uses also that are required permit. These are portable moving containers in excess of 14 days and commercial storage containers also in excess of 14 days. If they are proposed to be permanent, they would need a conditional use permit, which is approved by the Planning Commission.
Can you go back one slide?
Sure.
Parking lot, outdoor, temporary parking.
Yes.
It says not to exceed 3 consecutive days, 4 times a year, that's the one above that. That's not temporary parking lot.
Parking lot sales occupying more than 20% of an improved parking lot. That type would be like a tent sale, an auto tent sale, for instance, at Food for Less, that would qualify. The temporary parking, the very last bullet,
Yeah.
is the May Day type, and there is no restriction. Obviously, we would
Well,
want
that's why
that
when
to
I
be the
just-
week of the fair.
When you said not to exceed 3 consecutive days, that's, okay, thank you.
Yes.
That answers that.
So then, temporary construction waste containers, not in compliance with the previous section of the municipal code, and that refers to those items that are exempt. And then construction yards that are off-site, and then also similar temporary uses. So the application process, I'm just going to go through this briefly, requires an application to be provided to the Community and Economic Development Department on a form that's going to be authorized by our department, and it has to have written consent of the property owner. It has to be accompanied by a non-transferable fee, and I'm going to get into that processing fee with you in the next couple of slides. And then the department would circulate the application, depending on the type of application, within 3 days of receipt for comments. And then within 10 days, the Community and Economic Development Department would render a decision whether to approve, conditionally approve, or deny the permit. There are certain findings that need to be made. I'm not going to go through all of them, but the department would need to make these findings in order to approve a temporary use permit. Also, on the next slide, the department does have the ability to provide reasonable conditions that may be imposed to ensure the approval will be in accordance with those findings that were on the previous slide. And so they are not to be limited to hours of operation, provisions for parking areas, lighting, traffic circulation and access, performance guarantees, property maintenance, and other additional conditions deemed reasonably necessary to ensure public health, safety, and welfare. So this next slide is our application process fee. And what staff did was we developed a tiered processing fee based on intensity of use. And so we really wanted to be able to determine that on different types of uses, it wasn't going to take as much staff time, and we wanted to separate them out instead of just having one blank fee for all types of temporary uses. So the first type of use is a minor use. This type of application would be $60, and the analysis of this fee is provided for you in your staff report. It breaks down the time, but the types of uses that would be considered minor uses are parking lot sales, seasonal sales lots, outdoor sales and flowers, produce, and holiday merchandise, temporary parking, temporary moving containers, temporary commercial storage containers on non-residential zones, temporary construction waste containers, construction yards off-site, and similar minor uses. So all those types of uses, if they need a temporary use ordinance, it would only be $60. The next slide, these would be for temporary uses that are considered major.
Stacy, before you
Sure.
move forward on that, on the slide previous, the $60 fee would be regardless of the size of the business or the size of the sale. It's just $60 flat fee.
It needs to meet the criteria, though, what the ordinance classifies for that type of use. So for instance, a temporary parking lot, sales lot, it can only cover, it needs to be over 20% of the lot. So it needs to meet the definition. If it meets the definition of a major, then it would follow and be required to pay that application fee. So most all of the uses would be minor. The only uses that would have to pay above $60 are major, and then I'll get into that into the next slide. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
So major events, these are uses that are described in the ordinance as being circuses, fairs, really large events that take intense staff time to determine if they're within the public safety and general welfare and the health of the community. This takes the full effort of all the departments, and it's generated to police, fire, and public works. And it does take quite some analysis on staff's time to figure out whether these events, a major type of use, would qualify or be permitted within the city of Las Banos. So We also have a disclaimer, actually, on both sets of fees, that if the Community and Economic Development Department determines that the nature of the temporary use requires more staff time than what was calculated in the fee study, the applicant would be required to enter into a cost recovery agreement to recoup the full cost of staff time. So in our discussions as staff, my concern was that, well, what if we have a minor use, that it meets the definition of a minor use, but I know that it's going to be quite intensive, and even though it meets that definition of a minor use, I still need to route it out to all the departments, and it's going to take some intense analysis. For instance, an auto tent sale, we need to determine whether there's sufficient parking in the commercial plaza where the auto sale is going to be held. We need to determine whether circulation is appropriate, what type of closure it will be. So this takes quite a bit of time. I need public safety to weigh in on this type of event. I need fire to determine whether the closure of the parking lot is okay. I need police to also determine whether it would be safe. And most instances like this, I don't necessarily need public works, but if they're closing off a driveway or something that would maybe impede traffic or deals with ingress and egress off of some streets, yes, I would need their input. So we did leave a disclaimer that if the Community and Economic Development Department determines that it is more intense than the filing fee, the applicant would be required to sign a cost recovery contract with the city to recoup all of our costs. And this would be purely for staff time. Our cost recovery contract is a document that we already have. We require all applicants to sign a cost recovery contract for all entitlements. So this is an existing document and will be easily able for the Community Economic Development Department to determine if that type of temporary use would need that. So on to our next slide. The public hearing notices were published in the Las Banos Enterprise on Friday, March 4th, and as of today's date, no comments have been received. So in closing, staff's recommendation is that the City Council would adopt ordinance number 1144, repealing Article 38 of the zoning code and enacting a new Article 38 entitled Temporary Uses, and then also adopt resolution number 5739, establishing permit fees for the issuance of temporary use permits. And that concludes my presentation. I'm here to answer any of your questions.
Yes, thank you. Stacy, back in the beginning, the application that has to be completed for residents who want to have garage sales and other events, I believe, and help me if I saw this correctly on the overhead, the red asterisks have to be filled out.
Yes, we do.
And there was one for an email address.
Yes.
So what happens if a customer who wants to have a yard sale does not have an email address and only a phone number? How does this work?
They would just need to call the Community and Economic Development Department. There is a disclaimer on the screen that says if you're having any problems with registering, to contact the department, and then we would manually register them. But it is important that they do have an email address in order for them to submit this registration online via the city's website, because then they're given that confirmation email back saying that they have been registered, and it's their official documentation. That way the department isn't handwriting or, emailing personally accounts. It's an automatic generation and it has minimal staff time included, and that's providing a free service to the public. So if there is any difficulties at any time, the registrar can contact our department and we will take care of it and manually register them.
Okay, so, and that would be my concern, because, we do have some populations, be it senior or what have you, that may not have computer access, and I was hoping maybe they can come to City Hall and register.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, so we will always have that. The general population can come down to City Hall and register at any time. I just wanted to show you that this was another option, a convenient option that we were going to provide for our citizens.
Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to comment on the yard sale online registration. I think that's really cool. So thank you, Stacy and Rick, for working on that. It seems like it's going to be really easy for citizens to fill that out in just a couple of minutes, and hopefully be an easier way to keep track of, how many yard sales people are having and things like that. So thank you for that. I think that's really, really cool. And I don't know if there are any other comments. I can make a motion if there aren't.
We have to go to public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay. So any other comments from council? All right. So what I'd like to do now is open up the public hearing on ordinance number 1144 and city council resolution number 5739. Is there anyone who'd like to speak? Not seeing or hearing anyone, I will now close the public forum, bring it back to council level. And Mrs. Stonegrove.
I move to waive the second reading of ordinance number 1144, repealing Article 38, Chapter 3 to Title 9 of the Los Banos Municipal Code and enacting a new Article 38, Chapter 3 to Title 9 of the Los Banos Municipal Code entitled Temporary Uses.
Mrs. Lewis.
Second.
Motion by Stonegrove, second by Lewis, to waive the second reading of ordinance number 1144. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? None carried. Mrs. Stonegrove?
I move to adopt ordinance number 1144 as previously stated.
Mrs. Lewis?
Second.
Motion by Stonegrove, second by Lewis, to adopt ordinance number 1144. Roll call vote. Director Maloney?
Yes.
Lewis. Silvera?
Yes.
Stonegrove?
Yes.
Peralta?
Yes. Motion carried. Mrs. Stonegrove?
I move to adopt City Council Resolution number 5739, establishing permit fees for the issuance of temporary use permits.
Mrs. Lewis? Okay. Motion by Stonegrove, second by Lewis, to adopt City Council Resolution number 5739. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? None carried. Thank you. Let's go on to item 9. Before I go on to item 9, I'm not sure if the Girl Scouts are going to be here a little while longer, but welcome this evening, and please come back anytime. It's nice to have you here. Thank you. Okay. Let's go on to item 9, consideration of approval of City Council Resolution number 5740, revisiting the schedule of landscape irrigation from 1 day a week to 2 days a week. Oh, we're all excited to hear this one.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Tonight, staff was recommended that the City Council adopt Resolution 5740 that would change the irrigation schedule from 1 day per week to 2 days per week, depending on your address. This goes back to the ordinance that was adopted during the first ordinance that we adopted during the water restrictions that went from 3 to 2 days. So we're going back to the 2-day mandate for several reasons. We think, well, one of the reasons, regardless of what the forecast says this week, and we didn't know that at the time, but there's very little precipitation forecasted in the coming up months, 1 to 1.5 inches of rain. So we would just be actually just making it a worse situation for people trying to catch up afterwards on the 1 day a week. And we do have rising temperatures. It's that time of year. And another important reason is we compare to 2013 numbers. So I'll give you an example. In January 2013, we used 121 million gallons of water for the month. In April of 2013, we used 224 million gallons. So we were comparing to a different number. Another thing that has happened, and we still have to meet this, but our original mandate was 28% from June. It was from June 2015 to, I believe it was February of 2016 was when that mandate was in place, and we got a little over 22%. So we missed our mandate. Since then, the state in the next year has given certain cities, valley cities especially, a weather allowance. So they reduced our 28% mandate down to 25%. If you look at that, quite a few of our months would have hit that from last year. So we're looking at the same savings. One thing to let you know that the 1 day a week did help a lot. Our March numbers, we had 36% savings. It's our highest month that we ever had. And it was more water use than in February, but we're comparing to a higher number. And that's the main reason. So that's a really good indication where we're going. In the first month we had it, we actually only had 12%, but that was 4 times what we had the month before. So it did make a difference on our numbers. And it does show to the state we're doing our effort to get where we need to be. So we're going to go back to, if it's approved, we want to go back to where Sundays and Wednesdays of even-numbered side of the street can water on Sundays and Wednesdays, and Saturdays and Tuesdays are odd-numbered sides of the streets, and no watering between 11 a.m. and 7 p.m., and no watering allowed at all on Monday, Thursdays, and Fridays. All the other parts of the ordinance will be enforced, and a very important one that's going to be enforced is a state mandate, is that there's no watering within 48 hours of a measurable rain event. Not fog, not heavy dew. A measurable rain event, there is no watering. So this weekend when it waters, even though you have a Saturday and Sunday watering date, you cannot water. I mean, if you're caught during the rain or 48 hours within that rain, you will be cited. And people know that, and that's just a logical thing that when it rains, we shouldn't water. So if we happen to get more water than 1.5 inches for this month, it sort of takes care of itself with that restriction. And we will continue our enforcement and citations for non-compliance in the water conservation program. And if there's any questions on this, I'd be glad to answer them.
Okay. Mark, so even is Wednesday and Sunday?
I messed this up last time. Let me look to make sure, please.
Okay.
Yes. It's Sunday and Wednesdays, yes.
Okay, and odd is?
Saturdays and Tuesdays.
Saturdays and Tuesdays. Okay. If you're confused, anything, please call Public Works and they will make sure to straighten you out, or if you need help.
If you're confused, it's on the website too.
Okay, so if you're confused, it's on the website. Okay. And also, if there's a problem with your timer and you're having some problems, can they call you for advice too?
They can call us to get them set, yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, council members, any questions? Okay, so, all right, so I will entertain a motion. Yes, go ahead.
Mark, when does it go in effect? Immediately. So we pass it tonight, tomorrow?
Tomorrow we won't. We haven't, actually, to tell you the truth, we haven't been enforcing it this week.
Okay.
We're not assuming you're going to approve it, but I mean, it'd be sort of unfair for people. And as we hand out warnings to people, we're going to be handing out that they can go ahead and water. I mean, this is the reverse that we've been doing before. And as people call us, we haven't been setting timers this week. We were setting them starting tomorrow, hoping that this would go into effect. And so we'll get a lot of calls about whether this went into effect or not. So, but that's fine.
Very good. All right, Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
If that's it, I would like to make a motion to approve City Council Resolution Number 5740, revising the schedule of landscape irrigation from 1 day a week to 2 days a week.
Mrs. Lewis?
Second.
Okay, it's been motioned by Silvera, second by Lewis, to approve City Council Resolution Number 5740 as read by title. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? None carried. Very good. Thank you, Mark. All right, let's go on to advisement of public notices, and we have no reports this evening. Is that correct? Okay, let's go on to item 11, City Manager's Report. City Manager Breezy.
Good evening, Mayor, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I only have a couple things I want to talk about tonight. First of all, I want to thank you all for taking the time to acknowledge the work of the volunteers and the dispatchers at the beginning of the meeting. They do a valuable service for this community, and it's nice to recognize them because they do a lot of work behind the scenes that oftentimes goes unnoticed. So thank you for that. And then I want to just briefly talk about the dispatchers. They are a fantastic group of individuals at the police department. They do a job that is very difficult to do, and I want to thank you for acknowledging them as well, because I tell you, I sit in that dispatch center often, and they do amazing work every day. So thank you for doing that. And that is all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, let's go on to item 12, City Council member reports. Tonight we'll start with Mrs. Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to echo our city manager's congratulations to our city volunteers, the Vitals. I'd also like to include our animal shelter volunteers. They do a fantastic job to make sure that unwanted animals are adopted into homes, loving homes. I personally want to encourage as many of our citizens as possible to make sure that you spay and neuter your animal. That's even more important to reduce the population so that we don't have animals that end up not having homes. And our dispatchers, they're dedicated. I when I worked for the County of Santa Clara, I had the opportunity to visit our county dispatch services up there, and it's a very stressful job. And these men and women have to stay calm in the face of a lot of trouble and tragedy. So I congratulate them for the job well done. I'd like to remind our residents of Los Banos of the Republic Services Spring Cleanup Day, which is April the 16th from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. And it's going to be located at 403 F Street. And if you have any questions about it, you can call 826-0231. I want to thank Sandy for working so diligently on the Love Los Banos. That's something that will be near and dear to my heart. I think most people know that the way our city looks, as far as I'm concerned, is very important to me. So this is an added addition of citizens of Los Banos getting involved to help their community look beautiful as a first eye presentation. So thank you again for making sure that Love Los Banos moves forward here. And just to remind everyone, the planning for Love Los Banos is going to be on April 13th between 9 and 11 a.m. at the Salvation Army. So we want to encourage everybody to come out, or anyone who has time to work on this project and get it moving forward. It's a great thing. And then, of course, the first Love Los Banos Day will be April the 23rd, starting at 9 a.m. And if you have any questions, you can contact Sandy at 826-9643. 826-5648. 826-5648. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Let's go on to Mr. Silvera.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I have a couple things tonight. One, I also want to pass on my congratulations and thanks to all of our city volunteers. And if you're involved in any organization today, it takes a lot of volunteer hours to be successful in any of those organizations. So thank you. I do understand and appreciate the fact that you guys are kind of our behind the scenes, sometimes the unsung heroes and our backbone of our operations, especially at the shelter. I know the hard work. I've been out there, the hard work that you guys do out there. I want to say a special thank you to Sonia Williams and Jerry Avalos from the, I don't remember Jerry's official title, but he's the head guy for the courthouse being built here in Los Banos. And so myself, along with Commander Reyna, Commander Hedden, and Sergeant Seyaha was there, and Detective Meldon was there, and the mayor was there. We went on a tour of the courthouse, and it was a walking tour. And I got to tell you, I seen some places that God willing, I won't ever have to go back into, but it is a very secure facility. The amount of wiring that's in that facility will blow your mind. And even the mayor had made a comment. When you look up in the ceiling, there's pipes up there that are plugged off for future wiring that they can run through this facility. But it is truly going to be a gem here in Los Banos. I'm looking forward to their grand opening, and you know, as a person who does get jury duty once in a while, hopefully my jury duty will be in Los Banos and I don't have to drive to Merced. But it's a very fabulous facility. Look, I got to say, my one concern I had is I don't think they have enough parking. I just seeing the construction workers that were there filled up the parking lot, and I can't imagine when you have the court staff that are there, plus you know all the members there that are going to be part of the jury pool. I worry about that part. But I got to tell you, it's top notch all the way. They didn't. When it comes to the quality of the work, they didn't cut any corners on it, and so I'm glad that we have it here, and hopefully that'll become an anchor point for our future plans, the county's future plans, and then you know, and also the developer that still owns the property there. That the courthouse becomes something good for them and cleans up what I consider to be now a blighted area in one of our entry points into the city. So again, thank you, Sonia. Thank you, Jerry Avalos. It was pretty neat to get that tour of that. And the last thing Mrs. Lewis already said about the spring cleanup, and so I just want to remind everybody the May Day Fair is coming up. It's going to be April 27th through May 1st. You can purchase pre-sale tickets at the fairgrounds office now at 403 F Street. And there's the spring break packs, carnival wristbands, and these are all at discount prices. You'll be able to purchase them up until 5 o'clock on the 26th at the main office in the fairgrounds. You can purchase those discount ride passes, entry passes to get into the fair. And then, you know, once the fair starts and you buy the wristbands out in the carnival, they go up a few bucks. And also the one-day adult entry passes go from $7 pre-fair sales to $9 at the gate. So if you're looking to save a few bucks and you know you're going to go out to the fair, I would encourage you to go down to the main office at the fair, and they'll be selling those tickets, discount admission tickets, all the way up until 5 o'clock on the 26th. So I hope to see everybody out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Stonegrove.
Thank you, and I would also like to thank and recognize again the Volunteers for Animals and the Vital volunteers, and for the countless hours they put into helping our community, working with our community and public safety departments, and also recognize and thank the dispatchers for their tireless efforts to keep our community safe. And that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Mr. Freya.
Thanks. One more thanks there again for the volunteers. Without volunteers, we can't get what we need done, what our town needs done. They take very good care of us, our people, our animals, our city. Thank you once again. It was nice to see the Girl Scouts here. When I saw them, I thought maybe we'd get some cookies, but I'm probably a little late in the year.
We did, you missed it.
Well, lots going on. Friday nights, we have the open mic nights. This Friday, next Friday, and Friday after that. Street Fair Saturday. The choir concert's going to be the night of the next council meeting. I had scheduled originally on the Thursday, so I wouldn't miss a council meeting. But the Shrek the Musical is also going on, so families want to get your children out to see a fun show. The high school children are putting it on at, I believe it's the Chaco Theater is where they're doing that. And GB Blackman is directing that with Lacey Stevenson doing the music, and GB is one of our graduates, one of our stars. He has many leads at the Merced, the Playhouse Merced, comes over to Los Banos and works with the children here to teach them professional theater. That's going to be a great show. That's going to be the 21st, 22nd, 23rd, those 3 days, I believe. And the choir concert is going to be at the Arts Center this year, spring concert, and that'll be on the 20th, Wednesday. And it's $5 admission for that. That goes to the choir's expenses for their awards and their travel. We very much appreciate everything everybody's doing. Lots going on in Los Banos. It's a fun place to live. And don't forget the fair, because I won't be here to plug the fair for the next meeting. So that fair goes back over 100 years, and we're very pleased and proud to keep that going. So thanks, everybody, for all you do to make all this happen.
Thank you, and that just kind of leads right into volunteerism again, because there's so many people in Los Banos, and there are so many events in Los Banos where people are trying to raise money for different events. And it's almost impossible to track other than to go to the Chamber of Commerce and look at all the events on the events calendar. And if you have an event, go to the Chamber of Commerce and schedule it, because you'll find out all the other events and you won't double book. And that way you'll make more money. Also, if you want to contact the Chamber of Commerce, there's going to be a Customer Service Academy, and the Chamber can give you the information. The open mic night, if you haven't attended that, do it. I'm not sure how much room, but the place was sold out last time. It was so good. So the Chamber of Commerce has all this information. We'll use them as our focal point, and to disseminate every piece of information that we have, please call them, 826-2497. Is that right? Okay, I couldn't remember Raina's name, but I got the 2495? Okay, 2495. is the Chamber of Commerce office, and Bertha's smiling face will answer, or Michelle, and they will give you all the information of all the events in town. And if you're planning an event, go through the chamber to find out what events are being planned. Street fair this week on Saturday. Please come out, and the Rotary will be cooking 2-order omelets. And so you come in, you pick what you want in your omelet, and we will be serving those at $8 at the West Side Elementary School. Pardon me? No. No, wait a minute, I'm not sure. We have ham in this? Oh, I'm surprised. There's a big uproar over ham last night. Yeah. Mrs. Lewis, they probably, if they did it because of you. Okay? Yes, we are going to have ham. Okay. So anyway, again, use the chamber as your clearinghouse for all the events, and volunteerism. Continue to volunteer. I don't care what it is, but keep the vital and animal shelter in mind. But volunteer in your community. It's well worth it with all the events that are planned and all the good people in this community that help Los Banos run at no cost to the city or no cost to the other nonprofit organizations that want to help make this event survive, make the event a success, and also to raise money for different organizations. So with that, I'm going to announce that we're going to close session. If we have anything to report, we will do so after we return from closed session, and it is going to be, we're going to strike item A and go straight to 13B, conference with labor negotiators. Pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6, agency designated representatives, interim city manager Breezy, city attorney Vaughn, city clerk, human resources director Melanie, finance director Williams, legal counsel Tufo, employee organizations, Los Banos Police Dispatchers Community Services Organization, LBPD CSOA, and unrepresented miscellaneous employees. Thank you for watching. Okay, good evening, everyone. We've just returned from closed session, and there is no reportable action. Meeting adjourned at 8:50.